Fanfic Corner, presented by Jennifer. I know. Hunter, Echo, and Tech had been at Sid's place while Omega and Wrecker were off getting Mantel mechs. Hunter, Echo, and Tech had been graced with the unexpected presence of Rex, the last person they thought they would run into. They had been talking for a while, and the subject had shifted to Omega. They said you're traveling with a kid. Rex raised his eyebrow and shifted his gaze towards Hunter. Who is she? Omega. She's a clone, like us. Hunter took another sip from his drink. Just as Rex was about to ask another question, he was interrupted by Wrecker and Omega coming through the entrance as if right on cue. Well, look who it is. Come here, Rex, Wrecker said as he approached and abruptly picked him up in a hug. Rex felt like his life was almost being squeezed out of him as Wrecker hugged him. Rex grunted. It's good to see you too, Wrecker. I thought you didn't like the Rex, Omega asked, walking up beside Wrecker. This one we like, Wrecker said, putting Rex down. Omega, this is Rex, Hunter introduced. Seeing the girl intrigued by Rex to say the least, he bent down and got on one knee to be at eye level with her. I've met many clones in my life, but never one like you, Rex said. You're Generation 1, Omega scanned Rex's face. Now how'd you know that? Rex was curious. From the lines on your face. Rex could hear Echo choke on his drink in the background. Rex felt as if her eyes had pierced right into his soul. Rex let out a little chuckle. You could say I've been around. He saw her eyes move up towards his hair, and he winked at her. She smiled at him. Rex got up from the ground, ruffling Omega's hair, and making his way back to the bar to grab another drink. Rex reached over Echo to grab it and playfully punched him in the side. You know you're not too young yourself either, Rex chuckled. Rex heard Wrecker groan. Tech, you have any more of the med patches? You used the last one, Tech said. What's wrong? Rex asked, out of curiosity. Nothing, just a headache. Wrecker shrugged. Echo cut in, which are becoming more frequent. Is that so? Rex knew that this could be the first sign of something bigger to come, and it just didn't seem to sit right with him. If you're concerned about the so-called inhibitor chips, don't be. Hunter noticed the shift in Rex's voice and body language. Are our deviant nature appears to have impeded their punctuality. Tech pushed up his glasses, except in Crosshair. You're telling me you haven't removed your chips? Rex put his drink down and slowly moved to where he was in front of Omega. No, not yet, Tech replied. Rex uncovered his blaster. He knew that at any moment it could turn out to be just like on the Ventor with Ahsoka, and he hoped that if anything happened, he could at least protect the kid. Rex, Hunter said slowly and got up from his chair, seeing Rex about to grab his blaster. Hunter could see that Omega looked scared. He didn't even know why Rex was acting like this. Those chips make you a threat to everyone around you. Even her. Rex pointed to Omega. You're all ticking time bombs. Rex gripped his blaster. Take it easy, Captain, Hunter said in a steady voice, not wanting the kid to see them get shot by someone they trusted. What's in your head is more dangerous than you can imagine. I've seen what happens when the chip activates, and I don't want to bury any more of our brothers. Echo could see Rex's eyes glistening in the light. Trust me, it's not something you can control. I couldn't. It's a risk you do not want to take. Rex looked down at the floor. Echo noticed the shift in Rex's voice when he brought up what happened with his brothers after the war. Rex didn't tell them the full story about how truly painful and grueling it was on him. Hunter looked at Rex, then to Omega. Omega looked at Rex and to Hunter. It's as if both of them could feel the pain that Rex had been through and could tell they did not want that for themselves. Hunter realized how important this was. If they wanted to keep Omega safe, they had to do the right thing. How do you suggest we get them out? Hunter asked, looking back at Rex. Rex released his blaster and covered it back up. Good question. I'll be in touch. Omega was on the Ventor with her back up against the wall as Wrecker pointed his blaster down at her. Omega was now staring up at the barrel of his blaster. But Wrecker, I'm your friend. Omega had tears in her eyes. Good soldiers follow orders, Wrecker said coldly. Omega closed her eyes, waiting for the blaster to fire and kill her. She heard the blaster, but she wasn't shot. She heard a hard thud and felt the ground shake beneath her. Omega looked up to see Rex holding his blaster that was aimed at Wrecker. Don't worry, kid. I only stunned him. Rex bent down and held out a hand to help Omega up. Omega looked at Rex and could see the genuine kindness and concern he had for her, even though they only just met briefly once before. Are you okay? Rex looked down at the girl, wiping her tears. She looked up at Rex with her tears-filled eyes and nodded. Rex ruffled her hair and Hunter walked in. Let's bring him back to the med bay. Rex and Hunter went to pick Wrecker up. Wrecker was now undergoing his procedure. Everyone in the room was anxious to see if Wrecker was going to be okay or not. Echo turned to Rex. Is it supposed to take this long? Hunter looked up from where he was sitting, hoping he would get a good answer. I'm not sure. I've never been on this end of it, Rex said with genuine concern. The machine hummed to a stop, making it known that it was done with the procedure. The procedure's complete, Tech said, pushing the buttons on the console. Omega perked up and was at Wrecker's side as he was brought out. Wrecker? Omega shook him a little, but she grew worried when he did not respond. Wrecker? He should be awake by now. Rex heard the concern grow in Omega's voice and in everyone's faces. He had a feeling something like this could possibly happen. They all looked at Tech as he typed on the console. He is alive, but his vitals have not stabilized. We won't know more until he regains consciousness. Hunter moved closer to Omega and put an arm around her shoulder. She leaned into him, resting her head on his side. This could be a while, Rex said, looking over Wrecker's body. Some time had passed, and everyone but Echo and Rex had fallen asleep. Tech was sleeping with his feet propped up on the console and his head leaned back in the chair, and Hunter had fallen asleep with Omega in his lap. Her hand was gently placed in Hunter's hand and had a loose grip on it. Echo was leaning on the wall, still looking at Wrecker, and Rex was across the room, leaning on the door frame, staring down at his helmet. Echo looked over across the room at Rex as he walked out. Echo followed. He followed Rex until he finally stopped when they had made it outside on a portion of the ship that was exposed. Rex looked off into the ship graveyard at all the destroyed Jedi cruisers he used to serve on. Echo approached Rex from behind, putting a hand on his shoulder. Are you okay, Rex? Echo stood next to Rex. Yeah, I'm fine, Rex said, avoiding Echo's gaze. Don't lie to me, Rex. Echo stepped in front of Rex so he would look at him. Why do you say that? Well, for one, you look extremely tired and exhausted, and for two, I know you didn't tell us what you really went through after Order 66. Rex looked Echo straight in the eyes now. I'm not sure if anyone else noticed, but I could see the gleam in your eyes when you were back at Sid's place, mentioning our brothers dying. Rex looked down at the ground, now feeling a rush of emotion come over him as Echo mentioned what happened. I don't want to talk about it, Rex said in a low voice. Rex, if anyone knows what you're going through, it's me. Echo put a hand on his chest. I know what it feels like to lose everyone you care about. Rex did not respond, but still looked at the ground. All those months I spent on Saluka were heck, and then coming back to find that I was the last remaining member of my squad made me feel helpless. Echo thought back to Fives and how he felt when he realized he had died. All of the joy of reuniting with his best friend was washed away as soon as it had come. Echo felt tears prick his eyes. It always hurt when he thought about Fives. Echo placed both of his hands on Rex's shoulders. I know what it feels like to lose a hope. Echo started to get choked up. Rex looked at Echo finally. I had to bury all of them, Echo. Rex had a tear rolling down his face. Echo had never seen his captain like this before, but he knew how he felt all the same. I looked upon all of the cold faces as I took off the helmets on their dead bodies. More tears rolled down Rex's face. Echo touched his forehead to Rex's and closed his eyes as he felt tears roll down his face as well. Just imagining what Rex had been through haunted Echo more than his own dreams. You're the last brother I have left, Rex whispered. Echo pulled him into a hug, feeling the desperation of Rex's tight grip. I know. Echo and Rex walked back into the med bay on the broken-down ship. It was quiet for the most part. The only noise was the soft humming coming from the machine and the quiet snores from the Bad Batch. Hunter's head was slightly bobbing up and down in a restless sleep. Everyone else was motionless. Echo went back to where he was standing before and Rex sat down on the ground next to him with his back against the wall. No words were exchanged between the two as they sat and waited. Echo nodded his head up and down, wavering in and out of sleep, trying to stay awake. "He's awake," Omega said, excited to see Wrecker was okay. Everyone jumped up from their chairs, having been alerted from their rest. "Oh, you made it." Tex was delighted to see his brother was all right. "Welcome back." Hunter put a hand on Wrecker's shoulder. "One chip down, 3 to go. Who's next?" Rex was holding the scanner happy to see that Wrecker was up. Rex had ended up falling asleep where he had previously sat down. He had taken the top part of his armor off. He had his arms wrapped around his helmet, pushed up against his chest. He was sitting cross-legged with his back straight up against the wall. His head was tilted to the side slightly. Omega had walked to the other side of the machine and saw Rex was sleeping. She examined his face, and he looked oddly at peace. She hadn't known him for long, but to her he always seemed like a heavy weight was on his shoulders. She was brought out of her thoughts when she felt someone put a hand on her shoulder from behind. "Let him rest, Omega. He needs it," Hunter said in a soft voice. Omega turned her attention back to the machine, as it was now Tech's turn to get his chip removed. Tech was the last member to get the chip out. Hunter was making sure Tech was doing fine, and Wrecker was apologizing to Omega. Echo went to wake Rex so he could be prepared to leave. Echo shook Rex a little. "Rex?" Rex's eyes shot open and he woke up with a jolt, his hand hovering over his blaster. "Calm down, Rex. It's me, Echo." He moved his hand to rest on Rex's chest, steadying him. Rex looked up into his brother's eyes and nodded. Rex got up and put his armor back on, and Echo had gone to check on Tech. Rex looked down to see where his armor was, but he couldn't find it. He turned to look on the other side of him and found that Omega was there instead. Omega was holding his armor in her hands. "Were you looking for this?" She raised it up so he could grab it. "Yes." He bent down to his knees to be eye level with Omega. He rested his helmet on his other knee. "Thanks for all the help, kid. I hope we meet again soon." Rex held out his fist for a fist bump. Omega adored Rex, so instead she surprised Rex with a hug. He let out a harumph sound as he was not expecting a hug at all. He patted her on the back with his free arm. "I like your hair too," Omega whispered in Rex's ear. Rex couldn't help but smile. Rex got up and ruffled her hair one last time before he said goodbye to the others. After a few words with Hunter, the last person he had to say goodbye to was Echo. They shared a brief hug. "Stay safe, Rex," Echo told him.